Hey everyone, welcome back to CK Cycles. Well, my 1986 Honda VF700 is coming right along. I got that new used rear axle shaft in the mail the other day, and so I've been able to mount the rear wheel and get the whole rear end of the bike tightened up, and it's ready to go. Right now, my focus is on the fuel tank. I have it full of white vinegar in order to try and dissolve all the rust out of the tank. As you remember, the fuel that was in the tank that came out was pretty rusty, and I dealt with that in the last episode. What I'm going to work on this episode is the seat. Now the seat from here looks really good. And to be honest with you, the seat is in great shape for a bike that's from 1986. But there's one small blemish that I'm going to try and deal with myself to try and avoid purchasing a new seat cover for this bike. Let me show you what I'm going to do. As you can see, the seat really is in very good condition. There's no major rips or tears, but there is this small spot where the sewn seam is starting to separate. Some threads are broken, and so the seam is starting to come apart. And I actually noticed there's a few other spots all along the top seam of the seat that were broken and starting to separate that I want to address. I realized I could purchase an aftermarket seat cover, but then I would lose this nice Magna emblem, and I would also lose the overall stock look of the seat. Here I am starting to pull out the staples on the underside of the seat, holding the cover to the plastic seat pan. This was a bit of a two-step process where I used the screwdriver to loosen up the staples and then used a set of pliers here to pull them out. With all the staples out, the seat cover easily separated from the seat pan, and I was able to get the seat pan removed. After removing the seat pan, I inspected the seat foam, and I saw that the foam overall was in very good condition and could be reused. There are 6 of these small clips that are held in with threads that pull the seat cover down into the seat foam. All 6 of these had to be removed. In the end, I ended up cutting these threads out and relacing the seat cover with some new threads. So I could have simply cut these and removed the plastic retaining clips instead of trying to remove them, but I did not know that at the time. My original plan was to try and re-sew the splitting seam from the inside using my old Singer treadle sewing machine here. I think this is probably how the cover was originally sewn together, and so I was hoping to retain the stock look and to make it a really nice repair. Unfortunately, the sewing machine had a difficult time trying to sew the cover back together due to the tight radius and because of the lightness of the thread. So I had to find another way to make the repair. I found some black waxed thread, heavy thread, which is used to stitch leather, and I decided to do a loop over stitch on the broken seam with this thread and do it by hand. After the seam was repaired, I installed new retaining threads here using the same waxed thread for leather stitching. I simply poked it through the foam and then used one of the retaining clips to hold the thread in place until I was able to get all 6 sets of threads in place and all retaining clips in place. I just loosely tied a knot around the clip here to keep the thread in place so it would not pull back through the hole as I tried to install the other 5 sets of threads. Once I had all 6 retaining clips in place, I snugged them down tightly and quadruple knotted them in order to try to keep them tight and from pulling free. After trimming all of the threads, it was time to reinstall this piece of pink dense foam, which I did with just a little bit of hot glue to hold it in place until I was able to get the seat pan installed. Seat pan installation was pretty straightforward, and although this seat cover is old and it did feel dry in a few spots, I found that it was still pliable enough to easily pull over the seat pan and to get enough overhang so that then I could work to staple the seat cover in place. I found that a wooden block wrapped in a towel here served as good backing as I tried to staple the seat cover back in place. My stapler certainly was not strong enough to fully drive a 1/4-inch staple all the way into the seat pan, so I had to follow up with a hammer to fully seat the staples as I went around installing the cover. After getting all the staples in place, the seat cover looked pretty good. Although my repair is not perfect, it certainly is sufficient, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I'm glad I was able to save this stock seat cover with the original Magna emblem on it, and I think that this will have, quite a few years of use in the future. Thanks for watching, everybody.